executive session has been concluded. Will all participants in the executive session please state their name for the record?
Carol Harvey.
Dakar.
Ken Matthews.
Paul Sonnier.
Noel Sawyer.
Neil Levy.
Aaron Smith.
David Larry.
Suzanne Leclerc.
Thank you. If any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I ask that you state your concerns now. Hearing none, the next agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, move on to agenda item number 3, and Suzanne Leclerc.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening on the council agenda, we have appointments to the Planning Commission. There are currently 3 positions on the Planning Commission that expire this month. The City Clerk's Office, pursuant to council's policy, advertised them on the city's Facebook page, the city's website, and on Channel 10. In addition, letters were mailed to all of the incumbents to reapply if they were interested. The applications for reappointment for all these positions that expire in January, we received them in December, and the Planning Commission members applying that reapplied for reappointment are Jeff Watson, Peter Scanlon, and Jerry Penling. We received no other applications other than the 3 incumbents. This evening in the audience, I believe we have Peter Scanlon, and we also have Jeff Watson. Jerry Penling could not be with us this evening.
All 3 of them sit on planning now,
Correct,
so they're all getting reappointed.
if council desires.
Council, how would you like to proceed? We've got 2 out of the 3 here that sit on planning already. Would you like to chat with anybody? Do you want to make this painless and approve now? You tell me. We've got a great group on planning, and the 3 we're talking about tonight are 3 of our stalwarts, so I'm certainly in favor of all 3. Does anyone want to speak to anybody at the podium? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the 3 candidates.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Carr?
Yes.
Harvey? Yes. Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Sonnier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Mayor, may I have time to swear them in?
Let's do that. Let's do that. Peter and Jeff for being here. Thank you, and everything you do, and get everyone sworn in.
Gentlemen, I'll have you come out here because I know Norma has her camera up already. So, yeah, if you could kind of want to face kind of that way. And raise your right hand, and please state your name. I,
Peter Scanlon,
thank you, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Colorado,
and of the state of Colorado,
the charter and ordinances
the charter and the ordinances
of the city of Woodland Park,
of the city of Woodland Park,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of the Office of Planning Commissioner
of the Office of Planning Commissioner
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Peter.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Let's have you sign your oaths of office. Here's yours, Peter, and here's a pen. Thanks, Kip. And Jeff, here are yours. And you can keep that one. Tell Jane I said hi. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Suzanne, once again, thank you. And Peter and Jeff, thanks. Say hi to Jerry, and we appreciate your service. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. Okay, we move on to the consent calendar, and Suzanne.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening on tonight's consent calendar, we have the minutes of the December 7th regular council meeting. We also have the approval of the October and November 2017 statement of expenditures. And we also have a request for permission to serve alcohol at Meadowwood Sports Complex as requested by Chris Thornton for Bleed Hockey. Council may recall, we do this pretty much every year. This gentleman has a hockey tournament. They have a keg of beer for just the players that are in the tournament. And as the city ordinance says, the council needs to approve in order for them to have the alcohol in the park.
Have you spoken with Chris? I heard a rumor that they might not have the event this year. Have you spoken with him?
Through email.
Oh, great, great. I just heard it last week,
And
so I'm
Cindy-
glad they're still
And
doing
I know
it.
Cindy's been in contact with
Good,
him.
good. Some hockey store that told me that.
Point of order.
Please.
I think I saw an email. We were moving one of these items down to new business.
That's correct.
I don't recall. The agenda we have on our desk doesn't.
Okay, you should have a revised agenda of 1219. Is that the one you have in front of you? Okay. Excuse me then for that. We are moving on the older agenda. Excuse me. We had the agreement between the City of Woodland Park and Woodland Park Main Street. We had that on the consent calendar. We are moving that down to new business, and that'll be decided on later.
Everybody, you see that? Yeah. Thank you, Suzanne. Anything else, Val?
No, I'm just.
You didn't get it on yours. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Email for it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, call for motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Harvey? Yes. Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. We have no unfinished business tonight, no ordinances on initial posting. So we'll move right into public hearing and considering ordinance number 13. And Mike Farina, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight before you is ordinance number 1313 with public hearing. This is to adopt the 2018 annual budget after an initial goals and objectives meeting in April, and then several council meetings and council work sessions. This budget has been discussed, and before you tonight is the latest draft, of which has not changed since the last meeting, which was the initial posting. The ordinance has not changed. The draft budget has changed slightly. We've increased the expenditure line for the broadband by $15,600 with a grant that would be requested in 2018 by the same amount. So there's no net effect to the budget other than it does change the fund balance, unrestricted unassigned, down to $869. This budget meets many of the council goals and objectives that were set back in April, including restoring or bringing the fund balance, the unrestricted unassigned fund balance, back to the 10%. That was achieved with this latest draft, and with that, Mayor, I ask for a public hearing and approval of the ordinance.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks very much, Mike. We're going to start this evening with the public hearing, and then we'll move to council. So this is your opportunity, public. If you have any questions, comments, we're not going to have any discussion, but if you'd like to come and comment on anything on the 2018 city budget, this is your opportunity. See none, so we'll move in this direction. I'm going to make a motion. We've worked on this hard. We've had a lot of discussion. We've had a lot of disagreement and agreement, and I think we got to a good spot. So I want to just start by thanking council. You know, it wasn't easy. We've said this before, and some of us like things to go a little more smoother possibly than they did, but we had business decisions. We had hard decisions to make. I think we got it done. So I thank everybody. I'm going to move to approve ordinance number 1313, appropriating sums of money to the various funds in the accounts and for the purpose as set below for the City of Woodland Park, Colorado for the 2018 budget year. Thank you. Discussion. Val.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I have a brief statement to read. Everyone agrees, including me, that there should be a certain level of service by the city to be maintained. As always, that level of service is dictated by management of the limits of taxation and revenues received by the city. Reasonableness should always be in the philosophy of those in charge of acquiring goods and services for the benefit of the citizens of Woodland Park. For example, if we need to have a faucet in a bathroom, it does not need to be made of gold. It only has to be reliably control water flow to a sink. If we need a minimum wage gardener to plant flowers, we don't need to pay for a gardener with a PhD degree and pay for that certification. Citizen households know these things and maintain frugal postures when acquiring goods and services for their personal domains. The council and city administration think there should be a limit to how much efficiency we should have in the city. I do not. When reasonable opportunities to save revenues for the citizens' city reserve for emergencies like wildfires or a mill rate reduction present themselves, I am very eager to employ those tactics and methods in purchasing opportunities of efficiency. I'm not limited by an arbitrary 10% reserve limitation on efficiency as most on this council are. My limit is well above that number and only limited by imagination and well-managed maintenance of a reasonable level of service to the community. On December 1st, the council majority 10% reserve number was reached by revenue adjustments of 54% and 46% reached by expenditure adjustments. Expenditure reductions are the best method to cut bloat in a budget, since one has the most and best control of this money, and many more expenditure reductions were available. The city and council chose to ignore a thorough scientific study of their fleet and other factual presentations showing extraordinary citywide salaries above market, as well as many other ideas totaling well over $1 million of additional money that could have also been put into additional savings in this 2018 budget. They chose not to take these facts and well thought out ideas into an even better budget with barely defensible counters that appear in big government mindsets and not based in real producing economy private citizen principles. Many on council have asked, why should we do more? I say, why should we not? We all do our best to save at home. Why do our city representatives not have the same principles and methods of spending efficiency? We should do better. Thank you.
Anything else?
Call a question.
Suzanne?
Thank you. Mayor Levy,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews, pardon me.
Yes.
Soinier,
No.
Sawyer,
Yes.
Schaefer,
No.
Carr.
No.
Thank you. Motion carries for.
Yes, me.
Oops, sorry, Harvey.
Yes.
Sorry, excuse me. Motion carries 4-3.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, council. Okay, we'll move on to new business and resolution 812, Cindy Keating.
Good evening, Mayor Levy and council members. Tonight I'm here to request your support for the reauthorization of the Colorado Lottery Division. Since 1983, the Colorado Lottery has returned more than $3 billion in proceeds to the people of Colorado for outdoor recreation and land conservation projects. Since 1992, projects have been funded through three organizations: the Conservation Trust Fund, the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and Great Outdoors Colorado. The City of Woodland Park has received over $1.7 million from the Conservation Trust Fund and over $2.1 million from the Great Outdoors Colorado, supporting 19 parks, trails, and open space capital projects. When the Colorado voters approved the state lottery in 1980, The General Assembly created a lottery division in the State Department of Revenue to administer the program. The lottery division is set to expire in 2024 unless extended by the General Assembly, which will consider the extension during its 2018 season. 89 local governments have submitted resolutions of support so far. Tonight, staff recommends supporting the reauthorization of the Colorado Lottery Division by resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Cindy, obvious one for me. What's the downside of not supporting?
I don't see a downside to that.
Council? Val?
Yeah, I don't see any downside. Why do we have to go through this process?
Well, it's going back to the General Assembly for 2018 for reauthorization. So they're asking the state agencies and other organizations and individuals if they could just send resolutions or letters of support so they have that support when they go to the assembly.
So we're signing a petition.
Well, you're submitting a resolution.
I understand.
Basically. Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit, I'm not quite understanding the issue.
There's no issue. The state's just looking for us to continue to support the Colorado Lottery dollars going to the Conservation Trust Fund, the Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife, and Great Outdoors Colorado,
Okay, thank you.
supporting our outdoor recreation.
Thank you. I did. Okay. Thank you.
There's a
I
reason.
didn't get one.
There's a reason to vote yes. Okay, Cindy, thank you.
Thank
Council will just ask for a motion to approve Resolution 812. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Suzanne?
Thank you. Matthews?
Yes.
Soinier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Cindy, thank you very much. Here we go. Okay, we're still in new business and talk about the agreement between the City of Woodland Park and Woodland Park Main Street and Mr. Buttery.
Thanks, Mayor. Council, you just adopted a budget that authorized $30,000 to go to the Main Street program, 501c3 Board of Directors for them to spend at their discretion. At the last council meeting, you tasked staff to come up with an agreement with them. You gave us some very general guidance that we tried to cobble together into an agreement to meet all your intents. We understood that you were fine with the amount of money. You just approved that. You also wanted to have quarterly updates from them. What you did not tell me exactly what to do was how to distribute the money to them. I took the bits and pieces of the discussion and before you is a proposal that includes the agreement and many other things. But the one that seems to be causing the most concern was the payment frequency and the payment quantity. My recommendation was to, based on the pieces of information that you gave me, was to cut them a check on January 1st for $7,500, a quarter of that amount. At the end of March, they would give you an update to give you the accountability that you desired. Based on that, cut them another check on the 1st of April and so on through the course of the year. That was merely a recommendation. Certainly, if you wanted to write a check to them for the full $30,000 on the 1st of January, that's your prerogative. This is your action. You get to build this as you want to. You get to hold them accountable as you want to. There are many other components. You've seen it. I don't see the chair of Main Street here this evening. But that seemed to be the major issue, was the sequencing of the payments. And so, council, it really is up for your discussion and then approval. If you agree with the contents, and if you don't, we can certainly modify those and then send it on to Main Street for their approval. What questions do you have?
I'm going to start just to lead this a little bit. Well, I think what David said is true. We never really said how much money and when. I know that Bob Carlson talked about this being backvoted and giving them their $30,000 or whatever at what time. During this discussion, and everyone knows my thoughts on Main Street, I wasn't a big proponent, but you all kind of convinced me, and for me at least, it's a second chance in my estimation. I just want to do everything I can as long as we're going down this road. Let's try to make Main Street as successful as they possibly can. And in doing that, let's try to figure out without giving them money that they don't necessarily need right away, and to provide the accountability that we've asked for. Let's come up with some decision, and I wish Bob would have been here, because he kind of indicated 30, and I know Val's going to speak to this, but at the end of this discussion, let's agree that what we've done is to benefit Main Street the best we can to help them be successful. Val, I know you have comments. If you want to start, why don't you?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Carlson has some health issues today, tonight, so that's why he's not here. The only problem I had with it was the equality issue of how we treat all our nonprofits, and that includes the Chamber and all the CIF nonprofits, and we kind of give a big lump sum to them.
You understand we don't do that with Chamber. Chamber gets it on a quarterly basis.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but I do know about the CIF for sure. And they're small enough, so I understand that. So my problem with it was that if we're not treating everybody equally in reporting and in distribution, we might have a problem. My suggestion is that, and I sit on Main Street as the liaison, that we might adjust it a little bit. If the council wants to have incremented payments according to reports to be given quarterly, I think quarterly reports is just fine. Mike Farina has brought his experience from other entities into this picture, and I think it's a worthwhile exercise for us to do. I would suggest that not an even distribution is a problem. And maybe what I would suggest is we give a 10 or 15 the first time, and then we go in increments after that and see what they need, and have them come forward on the first quarter, and if they don't need any more at that quarter, we don't give them any more. In other words, if their spending projections are predictable in any given quarter, I think we ought to honor their intentions that way. I fear that 7,500 up, there's a lot of things they want to do up front. And to have it equally incremented seems problematic to me. So I would ask the council to think about possibly giving more on the front end, and then wait to see what they request on their quarterly report.
We're thinking about it. Give us a number.
Well,
we're going to decide. It's not anybody else. So give us a number.
So if it was, I would suggest that we take 15 to start with, and then the other 15 they basically apply for.
But do you know, in fact, what they would use that $15,000 for? We invited the board chairman to explain to us what their expenditures would be for the year. We never got to a point on what that might be in a year or in a quarter. So to me, equal increments over 4 quarters is fair. If at the end of the first quarter, they can come to us and say, we absolutely need $15,000 this next quarter, and explain to us why, that's fine. But they haven't done that thus far, Val.
Well, so they came up with a budget, and of course I didn't bring it here because I have my council hat on. But they have a budget targeted at $30,000. When I looked at it, there were things that are going to be done in that first quarter that are going to eat up that $7,500. So my suggestion was pick a number more than that. I don't care if it's 10, 15, whatever, and do that front loading, and then for the rest of the quarters, have them produce, here's how we spent it, here's what we need. We need another 1,000 for the next quarter. We need 10,000 in the third quarter, whatever. I think that gives them the flexibility to do some of the upfront things, and also the council the flexibility to see what they're doing later on.
Without those projects in front of me, I can't make that commitment. I would recommend $7,500 per quarter, and only extend that at each quarter if they've proven to us how they will spend it in the next quarter.
One of the problems with that is we don't treat anybody else like that.
Well, we do, but not in CIF. But like we said,
That's $20,000.
In
I understand,
In
but-
CIF, we don't provide administrative overhead.
And Council and Mayor, I would just remind you that you're acting in your administrative capacity, which is essentially acting with discretion with your city dollars. And you're not required to all that take your city dollars the same. You're simply required to have a rational basis for why it is that you are putting conditions on the receipt of those monies.
And Val, I'm going to agree with you. I want Main Street to be successful. I want to give them a little bit of leeway, if you will, and they're going to have to come. And that said, give them $15,000 when they come here on April 1st. I'm going to have some pretty stringent requirements, and I'm talking vision, how we're going to get there, what are we going to look like. You know, I want a long-term vision, a short-term vision, and I can line out, and everybody else can also. But I would agree with you. And give them the $15,000.
Well, I mean, even 12.
Well,
Just something to
again,
start with, you know.
you're our liaison. You tell us no more than 15. If you want to make it 12, I'm sure you get some agreement. Let's get some other feedback from everybody else. Noel?
Everyone knows that I was initially against just any funding, and now that we've agreed for 30,000, I will go with that. This might sound strange, but I'm willing to give them all 30 right away. And why is that? Well, Main Street's going to do most of their projects in the summer. So what they'll do is, if they have 30,000, they can start planning their projects. They can start implementing them in April, May. They can spend the bulk of the money then to do their projects. I feel like if we put too many conditions on them, it's counterproductive, because they're gonna have projects that might last the whole year. And we even trusted them to say, hey, show us what you got. Here's the money, and we're not gonna punish them if they don't succeed in the first 6 months. And that's what I feel like we're going to do. If they come back in 6 months and say, well, we've only accomplished this and this, you know, where's the level? Where's the marker? Where's the benchmark of success and failure? We haven't given them that. It's all whether we feel they succeeded or not. So I rather let them have their money, do what they want. We'll find out at the end of the year.
We gave them the opportunity to tell us what their projects and what any amount of money would be used for, and the only thing that was actually tangible was to pay the salary of a part-time coordinator that had been terminated by the city.
Not quite.
Well, not quite. We never reached that point, perhaps.
need to
But
get
let me
off of that
finish my
horse.
thought. Let me finish my thought. We agreed at the last meeting that we would give them the opportunity on a quarterly basis to prove to us that they would get the rest of the 30,000. We did not agree to give them 30,000 and have them come back every month and say, we need more. They never laid out what their plans for that money were, with the exception of paying a coordinator.
I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. They have a new chair. I think they have new direction. I believe they're going to succeed. But that comes back to the question is, what's the benchmark of success and failure? Is that your opinion? Is that the mayor's opinion? Is that Val's opinion?
It's everyone on this council's opinion.
That's
at the end of
correct.
the
But
quarter.
what is the benchmark for success and failure?
Noel, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with, let's take Val's number of 12,000, just for sake of argument right now. In the middle of February, Main Street comes to us and said, look what we're doing. We're doing this, this, and this. We're 6 weeks ahead of when we're supposed to be here, but we need a little bit more money. Can we get that approach and just try to work together to make it happen? I don't think we need to give them the 30 up front, because 6 months from now, they may not be doing what we would expect, or maybe even what they would expect. But let's be flexible and say, hey, we'll start you with 12, get you going, and we're going to support you all the way. If you need money before that, come to us and show it to us. Does that make sense?
I think
That makes sense.
12 to me is more, or 11, or 15 is more reasonable.
And where does that come from? It is based on absolutely nothing, because they presented nothing to us that said they would spend $15,000 in the first 3 months of the fiscal year.
So one of my jobs as a liaison is to see those things and to make an evaluation to present to council. It's my evaluation that these are valid expenses in a
But what
timely
are
fashion.
they?
You will see the entire budget. Jane probably has it sitting right over there. I don't have it. I didn't bring it with me.
Kenny?
I just think it's kind of I think the 12,000 number is a good compromise. I think we need to help make sure this succeeds. We want to support it. We want it, therefore, to succeed. They're going to come back in a quarter. We're going to see where they are anyway, so we have a chance there to make a decision if we want to continue or not. We want this to succeed. And I think the other issue about talking about nobody else is doing this, well, nobody else has been challenged with, you're not giving us feedback about how successful you are, what you're doing with our money. It's only this group that's been challenged with that, and that's why we came up with this program. But I'm willing to see a little bit of a compromise. Let's give them a little more up front, because I think they do need more up front to get started. No, I don't have an exact number. But I'm willing to do that as a compromise and help get them going and make it successful.
The only thing that I would remind everyone of is that several setting councils ago, agreed to give $1 million to the DDA with absolutely no accountability, no leverage, no lien on that amount of money. I don't want to do that again. Yes, granted, it is a much smaller amount of money, but we have an opportunity now to provide oversight of the taxpayers' money.
With respect to the reporting, which Ken referenced, is true. I sit on the CIF committee. We get an after-the-fact annual report from those people, and we put that into our evaluation when we're distributing money. So we don't get a quarterly report. We get an after-the-fact, once we've given the whole bunch of money right up front, which since we've approved the budget, we'll proceed with that number and bring some recommendation to council in a future meeting, I assume in January. But we get, in that case, we don't get a quarterly report. We get an after-the-fact report, and then we make a decision on the next year whether we're going to honor their application request. Now, granted, those monies are much smaller than this amount of money and the chamber amount, all of which are nonprofits. But I would say that with respect to the mayor's proposal, I think that's reasonable. If they need to come earlier and get some more money, don't say, well, it's not April 1st yet, so.
Understand.
Yeah.
It's a
I
business.
think that's a good
We're
suggestion.
trying to help them succeed, right? Let's try to help them succeed. Let's give them 12, and if they need more, they can come to us. That way, they've got to have some accountability, and we're going to all have to agree. And I'm probably overstepping a little bit, but I feel like everybody is in agreement almost, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if we need a vote. Go ahead,
You
John.
have to amend it, I guess.
I would like to see maybe what I'll call a little more disciplined approach. I'd like to know what it is they're going to be doing the first quarter and subsequent quarters. I don't have a problem with front-loading the 30,000 to 12,000 for the first quarter. But as we go through the 4 quarters, I want to see specific objectives and what are the results, and is our money being used well? Do we want to continue to fund whatever is left at that point?
I agree. You good with 12,000 to start, John?
Yes.
Do we need a motion? What do we need? Do we need a motion here for this agreement, or do we need consensus?
Motion.
Motion? And are we amending what we already have?
Yes, sir. And what I've heard you say is 12,000 up front,
Yes.
January 1st, and then the subsequent payments would be based upon
Their request.
presentations.
Yes.
Okay, we'll adjust the language to read that.
And that they can do those at any time. It doesn't have to be at the end of the quarter. At the least, it'll be once a quarter.
Correct. Okay.
So moved.
Are we good enough with the so moved? Do you know what we're moving?
Well, who made the motion?
No,
Okay.
Val did. Okay,
Okay.
good. We good with that?
And who seconded?
Okay, good.
Thank you, Ken.
1 second.
Ken.
Yeah.
Sonier,
Yes.
Sawyer,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes.
Harvey.
With the risk of not rubber stamping this MOU, I vote no.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Levy,
Yes.
Matthews. Thank you. Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. Aaron?
The correction has already been made from the dais, but I just want to emphasize there's been no termination of the coordinator position. So I just wanted to make the record completely clear on that.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, council. I think that's a good solution. And anyone Main Street people that are here, we'll look forward to your presentations. We want you to succeed for all of our benefits. Okay, agenda item number 10, public comment on items not on the agenda. Some of these, okay. Ken, how about I'll come back to you, okay? I'm going to start with Steve and Crystal Wright. And if you haven't been with us before, just give us your name and your home address before you start, and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Steve Wright. This is my wife, Crystal. We own Ace Electric, and we're at 235 Summerhaven Drive.
Thank you.
She wants to go ahead and speak first.
We'd like to make sure that all the council members and citizens of Woodland Park know that the contractors who did all the renovations on Memorial Park have not been paid.
Could you hold 1 second? I'm going to have David start with that now. Okay, go ahead and finish.
We're the ones in the hole on this project. The payroll has been paid to the workers by Ace Electric.
I paid all my vendors for everything. Last time that I had been paid by the general contractor of that job was October 2016. When I went to pull for my next draw the following month, I was told that the money was put on hold until the park was completed. So we got the park done, went to get the draw again. No monies are coming. Talked to the general contractor just last week. He said he's not sure how the contractor's going to get paid. He said contact Mr. Budley, which Dave and I have talked about it. He's kind of told me a little bit what's going on. I've also contacted the bonding company, have not got a response back yet. We're just trying to see how we can get paid. We built a beautiful park. And, right now the contractors, that's quite not.
Mayor and council, let me tag on to whatever the city manager wants to say, but this is a legal issue, and fortunately for both Mr. and Mrs. Wright, the general contractor, and the city, the statute is very clear on what you do in this circumstance. And so this matter is being currently administered and addressed through the procedures contained in state statutes. The problem, I suppose, is that there is a 90-day waiting period. It started on November 15th, but state statute requires that there is a 90-day waiting period. Statements of claim are filed in the case when a general contractor has not been able to pay. The city holds on to the retainage, and at the end of those 90 days, if the subcontractors have not filed a lawsuit, then that retainage is released and those claims are paid. So here, the process is moving forward as it is supposed to. In fact, the state statutes anticipate that this happens from time to time, and in order to protect all the parties, has put in place some very specific procedures. So if we can just beg your patience and allow that process to move forward, we will follow those state statutes, and that protects the city's interests, that will protect the subcontractor's interests, and the contractor will end up having to pay those or suits will be filed.
go ahead.
So I'll flesh out a little bit more of this because this is all in the public record, and you'll advise me if I shouldn't go there. But you're not the only one. There are 8 other subcontractors. A good friend of mine said that a general contractor is successful when they satisfy the customer and they satisfy their subs. Well, this general contractor hasn't satisfied the subs. He's built the park. There are about $300,000 of statements of claim by you and those 8 other subcontractors. There's $200,000 left on their contract, roughly. So you've done what you need to do, and sadly the process takes time. You have submitted your verified statements of claim. There are 3 contractors who I know signed releases to the general contractor without getting any money. And so that puts those 3 subcontractors in a real pickle. We are working hard to make sure you get your money. It's easy for me to sit up here and say it's not our fault, but that doesn't help you or pay your folks. And you did a wonderful job, as did everybody. But we're caught between a rock and a hard place because our contract is with the general and your contract is with the general. They've got this much money left and they owe people this much. Our responsibility is to make sure that it goes through a process so that you can get as much of your money as you've earned. If the general contractor pays off everybody and then comes to us and says, we paid off everybody, we'll close this deal out very quickly. That's not happened. So Steve, I'm very sorry.
And Steve, you've had this discussion with David. So come in here today, tell me what we can do that you haven't. I mean, obviously we're not writing you a check, but how can we help?
Well, I was just hoping that there was a way to speed up the process or get with the general contractor and try to get it settled. I mean, to me, it's bad that right now that the small contractor is taking a hit on that.
Well, we feel for it.
The money that's owed to me, that's a hardship on the company. It's a lot of money.
You know, we're a local Woodland Park company, built a beautiful park, and have gone in the hole over it. And we just wanted to make sure that all the council members know that what's happening, and you know, when budgets are being talked about, money's being talked about, and the previous projects have not been paid out, we just want to make sure that everything is being done the right way.
Well, I know you understand this isn't a city issue, right? You understand that. But we all want to make sure that you get paid.
We're just hoping that, you know, through these, you're educated on this, and we're asking for your help.
We're doing everything we can. I mean, it sounds easy for me to say that. You haven't seen a paycheck in a long time. We've paid the general contractor on time. When we realized what was going on, we held back the final payment and the retainage because we knew something wasn't right. Once that happened, we had to turn it into the hands of our legal folks, and that just takes time. And that's what it's done, is it's consumed a lot of time. So we understand it. The council's heard it. We've had other subs come in and talk to us. That's the way it is. We are working as hard as we can. It sounds trite, but it's true.
Paul? What is the deadline on that 90 days? When is that 90 days up?
February 15th.
In February, in the middle of February, do you believe that there'll be any monies available to pay any of the subcontractors? You do believe that there will be?
Oh, yeah.
The city attorney said something that's very key. So I'm looking at the council when I say this, that the subcontractors have to take legal action.
Yes.
You're talking to me. Go ahead.
I am.
Go ahead. And they've taken legal action.
No.
Well,
no.
I would urge, yes, I would urge the rights to seek legal advice from an attorney who will walk you through the state statute and how it works. Because what you don't want is for those subs who have gotten counsel to somehow create a situation where you are left without the same status in the potential lawsuit. What happens is, you know, unlike in a private transaction or a private contract, contractors and subcontractors are unable to lien public property. So they don't have a right to lien public property. So what
the state legislature has provided in lieu of your ability to lien property is to file these verified statements of claim and wait those 90 days, and if you have not been paid, to bring your lawsuit so that you have a claim on those funds. Is the retainage that the city is required under state statute to hold for that 90-day period. So I'd urge you to seek legal counsel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Thank you
Will
for
you
coming.
forward and help educate?
Will you be taking the advice of our counsel and seeking legal advice so that you can collect and put a claim on your money? And also, I'm sure that your legal counsel will cost you some money, and that needs to be covered too. I'm so sorry that you're standing here before us and that this city has failed you. And that this
that's not right.
The general contractor.
Yeah, we paid the contract. We just need to be careful with what we say,
Okay.
because the city
Okay.
did not fail them. The city is protecting them.
As we move into future contracts, I suggest that we look at our contracts and ensure the fact that our subcontractors are paid.
What was the name of the general contractor?
CMS.
Just kind of on this line of thinking, how are we had 3 major projects go on, how are the other 2 faring, and any future consequences, or there seem to be going smoothly?
For the Aquatic Center,
And the maintenance shed?
fleet maintenance is done, paid for,
Okay,
everything.
good.
That's been occupied for a year and a half, almost 2 years now. The Aquatic Center, we've made the final payment.
Okay.
We're holding the retainage, so not to confuse the retainage with final payment. We have the retainage. We have to do an advertisement
Okay.
that appears twice in our newspaper, so that if there are issues like this, we know about it, and so that they can submit verified statements of claim. We've not heard any issues with some subcontractors not being paid. In my 21 years here, this is the first time it's happened. Our contracts do have language to protect the subs, but when a general contractor misbehaves, there's sometimes very little we can do, except for the recourse that we have right now, and that's what we're following.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on. Tony Perry. Nope. I'm sorry to say it, I just can't decipher this name. The address is 940 East Kelly. Address is 940 East Kelly. Oh, I'm sorry.
What item is that?
Huh.
Election, I suspect, is what he's referring to.
Okay. Okay. We will move on then to, yeah, so I'm sorry, Kenny, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's appropriate right now or later, and I don't normally do this type of thing, but been in this community 32-plus years, as a resident business owner, past and current city councilman, planning commission for 3 years, been involved in many, many different groups and clubs, nonprofit and otherwise. I feel very strongly about this community, and there's two things that are coming up that's been written in the paper about a little bit that I just feel needs to be addressed. And I won't belabor this, but one is to go to a strong mayor-council structure. My question is why? See the facts. These are not my opinion. CML, the Colorado Municipal League, has stated and proven there are 272 municipalities in Colorado. 168 have council, manager, form of government like we do, 62%. 101 have some other structure that is not strong mayor council, all under 2,000 population. There's only 3 that have strong mayor council structure. Guess who that is? Denver, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo recently. We are not like these large cities, and managing Woodland Park like Denver does not make any sense. I just encourage everybody, before you sign petitions and think, oh yeah, this sounds great, make sure you understand what it is you're signing. This is not right for this community, in my opinion, and I think CML agrees with that. At least their facts state that. Second item I would like to state has to do with the discussion about moving and these are going to come up as people wanting petitions for you to put this on the ballot. To change the 1% sales tax we have for our street fund and move it and give that money into the general fund where it can be used for any other project at council's discretion. I strongly oppose this. During all the years I have been here, I've seen ongoing improvements to our streets, sidewalks, drainage ditches, not just chip and seal, which has been referred to. There's a lot more involved in that. Many things can develop that not only affect the streets, but also water and sewer lines, electric, gas, cable services. When making repairs or improvements to an area, all these things must be considered and possibly upgraded also while the street work is being done, thus avoiding having to trench or dig up newly paved streets to fix one of these other issues. It is a lot more than chip and seal to maintain our streets and keep adding sidewalks and gutters as we've seen, especially in front of our schools. I think most would agree that having gutters and sidewalks added to the many streets over the years has been not only very convenient, but a safety issue for many, especially in front of the schools. All the residents benefit from good streets, drainage, and so forth, not just the ones that a future council may feel they want to support if these funds are transferred into the general fund. It's dedicated to the streets right now. Is everything perfect? Of course not. Nothing ever is. Not many things are, but we have come a long way in 32 plus years I've been here, and I believe we have done better than most communities. I know that many of us want to close the door on new growth and development in our community once we move here, but we live in a free country where people and businesses can strive to succeed as long as they live within the legal limits. Our system is working well. Let's not change it just for the sake of a few people wanting to make changes when there's no justification for it. Please read these things before you sign any petition. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Very good. Okay, move on to reports and Mayor's report. I just have a couple of announcements to make tonight. First one's pretty exciting. If you're an ice skater, the skating rink's going to open tomorrow, December 22nd at 4 o'clock. So we finally got some weather that will support an ice rink. And Saturday, the Skate with Santa is from 6 to 8 o'clock. And so for all you skaters, we've got another great venue in our community. Thursday, January 4th, 2018, 11:30 a.m. is the Chamber Lunch and Learn. Fight Back with Target Marketing at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. And that's all I have. Sure. Nothing, Val.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to be appreciative of the city staff and the council for extensive participation, and the city staff especially for providing me with a lot of information this year. They provided a lot of good information to the council to make our decisions more factual based, and I really appreciate all the effort that went through that. I appreciate all the input from all the council. I think we've had some good discussions throughout the year, and I really do appreciate you. I also want to show my appreciation to all the public out there who have really stepped up in this, my second year on council, and given us a lot of ideas that we hadn't seen before, or I hadn't seen before anyway, and a lot of good feedback. I think we modified some of our decisions based on some really good input from the community, and that's who we serve. We serve the citizens, so I appreciate that. Lastly, I want to, hopefully all our people who celebrate Hanukkah had a good Hanukkah, which ended yesterday, my kids included. And Christmas, Merry Christmas to everybody, and whatever other holidays, Festivus, I guess there's one out there. Anyway, I appreciate all of you. Have a good holiday season, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Val. Good?
No.
Paul.
I'd like to thank everybody for their participation. I wish everybody a happy and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and keep it safe. Have a good night.
Noel?
Ken, thank you for that talk about the strong mayor. I truly believe it is a direction that this city cannot go. If you do read the petition or you do bump into it, read it and then ask the question, why? If you truly feel that our city is going in the wrong direction, please come and talk to me, because I don't see our city going in the wrong direction. I see no reason for a strong mayor. So ask yourself, why is this happening? And look around your city and see how beautiful the lights are. I remember driving through at 11 o'clock one night, and I actually slowed down to just enjoy the lights. I know I drive fast cars, but that's besides the point. So I want to thank the city staff for putting those lights up. They do it every year, but this was the first year I really slowed down and just really appreciated them. And so Merry Christmas to everyone, and same with the council. Thank you. It's been a good 4 years. I've actually been on 4 years, so but thank you.
Yep. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll see you in a few weeks.
I want to direct a question to council. Is there anything you can say about these petitions to clarify what is being said here?
Well, we're going to have clarification.
Yeah, thank you, and I would like to address that under my report, so thank you for bringing that up.
One thing I did want to say, certainly appreciate everybody's involvement, and I know, and I think for the public needs to hear this too, that, you know, we hear this disagreement and things going on, and a former mayor and a good friend of mine once said, if we all agreed, there would be no reason to have a council. You know, it's healthy to have disagreement and, you know, respect each other's opinion and consider it and then move on. And that's what I hope we are all doing, and that's what I see that we're doing. And hopefully we'll continue to do that in the new year. So thank you to all my fellow members. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Ken. Anything else? No, I did notice that the chief was smiling when he did that.
Oh, yeah.
Driving fast.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the city attorney report.
Thank you, and I would like to repeat what I said without my microphone on to respond to Councilman Saulnier's request. I appreciate the question, and I absolutely want to address that. The mayor and council, the city attorney requests a motion to authorize a limited waiver of the attorney-client privilege to address two questions. These two questions concern the effect, if any, of the proposed charter amendment regarding strong mayor on the 2018 mayoral candidates. So I would like a motion then to authorize that limited waiver.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Suzanne?
Sawyer?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, and now let me address those questions. As the council knows, January 2nd is the date that candidate petitions are available from the city clerk's office, and January 22nd is the date that those candidate petitions are due back. In connection with the mayoral candidate, two questions have arisen. Will the mayor elected in 2018 be the strong mayor if the strong mayor charter amendment passes? And a corollary question, if not, then when will the strong mayor be elected? I have reviewed the applicable law in Colorado and conclude the following with regard to those questions. Will the mayor elected in 2018 be the strong mayor? No. Then how and when will the strong mayor be elected? At the April 2020 election. And I will provide this to the city clerk in the form of a press release, and it can go out with in the manner that others go out. And I would also recommend that the city clerk then provide that to any of the candidates who pick up a petition for the office of mayor. Thank you, council.
Any questions? John, is this the time you want to chat? Please come forward. We'll give you this opportunity.
John DeVoe, 940 East Kelly's Road. Council, mayor, staff, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Val, and New Year's and Valentine's Day and Easter and all the above. Background on the petition. I'm glad to hear the council's information about times on that. Bob Volpe and I always disagree on his articles. He wrote one in the last jackpot that him and I were right on. And what he said in there was that the strong mayor worked in the Springs, but it took 2 mayors to get there because the first one was a flop. And then also, Victor tried to do it, and they recalled him because it didn't work there either. Okay, we've got people that come before you guys and gals and say, this is in all these small towns. There's only 2.5 because the other one hasn't started yet, and that's Pueblo. And those cities, Colorado Springs and Pueblo, are not our mentors. We have design standards. The Springs haven't figured out how to do that yet. Okay, i.e. Walmart. Okay, we do things well up here. We just do. And I think it's a travesty to tell the council, and you're all good people with all your own ideas, that you're not worth being paid a nickel, but you want to pay Neil $40,000 or $50,000. I don't think Neil wants that money anyway. But I'm saying that to me, that's a rub against you people. That's what your decisions are. You decide what that's going to happen. And it's never going to be 7-0. It's going to be 4-3, and sometimes you'll be on the 4, and sometimes you'll be on the 3. But that's the way government works. Okay. The road fund. I'm off strong there. Back when I was on council, like you folks were, we had a company come in that Mr. Buddery hired. Actually, it was probably Bill at that time, and did all the roads in Woodland Park with sophisticated monitoring equipment. And we made a determination on that road fund what a priority was to fix those. Okay? And that road fund was done. And I think the road fund was passed in the 80s. And I talked to a lot of the business people downtown. That money, that 1% tax, was to keep our roads up. We kind of had to suspend that for a little bit when we did the bypass coming through. Used a lot of that, those funds to do that. Now we're getting back to the point where we've got excess money, and you guys as a council have approved spending part of that money. You have approved it. Okay, and that's the way it should be. When you have excess, you have that control to do that. So let's keep that in there, because it's going to be too easy to spend it once you get it in a general account. And I'm just tired of hearing all this stuff about how bad it is and how bad this administration is. Guess what? You're part of the administration. You're the ones that are elected to do this stuff. And you've done a good job. Keep it that way. Okay? One of the things I'm getting absolutely tired of in this town, you're frowning at me, David. Okay. Sorry.
Resting face.
Okay. What I'm getting tired of, remember in the Reconstruction era of the Civil War? They're called carpetbaggers. Well, they probably don't teach that history anymore, knowing our schools. No, but I'm saying, remember they came down from the north with a bag full of tricks, and we finally ran them out of town? You know what we got in this area? We got carpetbaggers. We got people that don't live here, don't vote here, don't send their kids to our school, but they know how to tell us how to run this city. BS. You guys do a good job. We got a good school system here, and I'm tired of hearing people that don't have a thing to do with our community outside of get up and complain about the administration, the city, and you folks. Enough of that. We've got a good school system here. Okay? They always compare it to charter schools. Here's the difference. A charter school doesn't have to take special ed kids. They don't have to take them. Special needs, they call them as well. I suppose that's a kind of name. But anyhow, Woodland Park spends over 10% of their budget for special kids that have got disabilities and learning and that. You know what the charter schools do? It's Classic Academy, 3.9. the charter school at Cheyenne Mountain, 2.9. And if you go to the charter school in Cheyenne Mountain, if you don't tell them that you're a 504, which is a federal program that you're special ed, they can expel you from school because they want to know who they pick. We don't do that here. We treat everybody. We teach all those kids. And does that make it harder to get the higher test scores? You betcha. But let's teach all the kids. Let's give everybody a chance to get out in life and earn a living and to be a productive citizen. Let's not just say we want the elitist that's going to come here. So, thank you. I'm finished.
Thank you, John.
But don't say that. Anyway, you guys do a good job. Keep up what you're doing. Passed a good budget. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to City Manager's report.
Thanks, Mayor. Suzanne?
Thank you, David. I just wanted to report that we held the candidate forum for the prospective council members last week, and we had a nice turnout. We had a good attendance, and 10 different folks, individuals, took packets from me, and we'll see what happens. As the city attorney mentioned earlier, and I just want to reiterate, the petitions can be picked up January 2nd, and they're due back in my office January 22nd. So I will be in my office early on January 22nd, beginning 8 a.m. If you want to pick up those petitions, I'll be there. And then just to update you, we have the 2 petition initiatives out, and those petition initiatives are due back in my office on January 3rd, when we will verify the signatures and see if they're valid. So thank you. Last, I wanted to just mention the January 4th City Council meeting will be canceled.
If council would approve that. Okay, thank you.
Looks like it.
Yeah. A couple of things, Mayor. First, since the last council meeting, we have swept Highway 24 twice. We promised you and the community that we would do that. We accomplished that, and so we think we're staying ahead of the grit concern on Highway 24. Lastly, Mayor, when I came to the city in 1997 as the Public Works Director after a 21-year Army career, I envisioned serving this small mountain town for 20 years. That 20 years was last July. But I wanted to see the completion of the Memorial Park renovation project, the Woodland Aquatic Center, and the 2018 budget that I knew would be a challenge. Memorial Park is finished and has become the downtown jewel that people desired. The Aquatic Center is up and running and bringing smiles to the faces of many people. And earlier this evening, the budget was adopted. Tonight, as required by my contract, I'm giving my 120-day notice to the City Council of my intent to retire on April 20th, 2018. I want to thank this and previous councils for allowing me to serve our citizens, businesses, and visitors. I want to thank our dedicated and professional staff for serving alongside me to make this the wonderful place that it is to live, work, and play. Lastly, I want to thank my wife, Tamara, and my full family for their love and support. I truly thank God for allowing me this opportunity to serve our wonderful community. Mayor Levy, I would ask that you call for an executive session this evening to discuss the way forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm sure there's a lot to be said. I'm not sure exactly when that time is. I'm guessing it's not right now, but I know we all want to thank you, and we still got 3.5 months of you, so you're not getting away so fast. That said, I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session pursuant to CRS section 24-6-402 sub 4 sub F sub 1 for discussion of a personnel matter, specifically the city manager's retirement notice. Council, if you'll please join me in the upstairs conference room, and we will proceed from there.
Just need a second and a vote.
We're going to get that. Thank you. Suzanne.
Thank you. Schaefer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Harvey? Yes. Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Not sure how long the executive session will take. You're more than welcome. If there are people here when we get out, we will comment on the executive session. If not, everybody have a Merry Christmas and have a happy new year. Thank you for being here.